Okay, so we're going to start by going briefly, taking more time on the first few slides to see how many more people are going to join us. All right, perfect. We have enough people, I guess, 10, 12 people, more than usual. All right, great. So this session, I'm going to go briefly demo some of the products, some of the tools that we use, um, and let's see. Um, at PhillyTalent for our mentorship platform and also the content that we develop. So we'll be starting, we're starting a little bit late, but we continue talking about this until 2:30. And in the end, we'll have about 15 minutes for any Q&A. Okay. I keep my eyes open on the group chat for questions and issues that anybody had. Primarily, my concern is if anybody can hear me or if the voice is not clear at all, please let me know. All right. So what we do at PhillyTalent, primarily our focus is that we solve one of the key problems that is happening in the recruiting industry for job marketing data science, and that's the problem of accreditation. What we mean by accreditation is that most people that are working with us as a mentee, they come with a 4-year STEM degree in one of the fields like engineering, mechanical engineering, computer science, even other fields like bioinformatics or IT departments. A 4-year engineering degree is the most common one from the United States school. Actually, more than half also have a master's degree, another 2-year degree, and a couple of certifications from IBM, Python. So one of the key issues with that is that now that everybody looks the same, how can we, as a company, if you put yourself in shoes of a recruiter or a company looking to hire, how can we find the best fit, the best talent that works for us? And that's the problem that we solve. We basically create a verified portfolio for the candidates that work with us in 100 days. Now, in the next few slides, I'm going to show you how we do that. I'm going to go over, dig deeper in some of the details of these processes. And towards the end, you can ask me the questions regarding to what background you have. So people who are in these sessions are not just candidates. Some of them are actually experts and mentors. Some of them are mentees who already are working with us right now. And some of them are people who are working with some company partners. I'm going to go over these 3 groups of people during these presentations, but the most important part is obviously our candidates. We work directly with candidates. You can see in the bottom of this slide, there's a lot that goes in the mind of a candidate looking for a job. You can look at it from the standpoint of, okay, we have different technologies like Python, different technologies like GitHub, different protocols or tools like Git, Python, different applications that is being developed every year, like libraries, third-party libraries like H2O, new forms of accreditation, and then companies that you want to actually work at, like Microsoft and several others. Now, how do we do this? How do we fix this problem of accreditation? Why do we exist? What are we doing? We build, as I said, we build a verified portfolio for you, and we sort this mess of technologies and partners and parties involved in this problem in the following way. In the bottom, you can see we have several data science competition platforms. I'm going to go over the details of why we have it set up like that. Kaggle is the #1 platform that we worked on. The experts that we work with are primarily coming from Kaggle. These experts have won at least 1 or 2 medals and been there for a while, and they're very competitive, and that energy is one of the key things that we inject in our candidates. On the second row, you can see that we create a technology stack. By the technology stack, we don't mean just giving you some tutorials and wanting the candidates, giving them some tutorials and wanted to finish it up or submit it and go to the next one. And that's one of the problems we want to solve, because these solutions exist everywhere and you don't know who's actually doing what and how much of the work is actually done by the candidate. There are some of the solutions like simulation and sandboxes, like for example, KeyWiki. On the very left, I have on the second row that helps you gain access to a lot of AWS products and get first hands-on experience on this. And then you can see, depending on the candidate, we pick this a stack. Let's say we have a candidate who comes in, we identify that he needs to be, if he wants to do, let's say, a data engineering in insurance industry, where we as few lead mentors and few other experts, we identify this technology stack to be very important. You need to have experience in some batch systems like Hadoop. You want to have be very hands-on on Python and very in-depth experience on different good practices on Python and so forth, and also want to have experience on some newer cloud solutions like AWS. So we create this batch for them, and I'm going to go next and show you in 2 slides how this is done very lightweight in both the structure of a company or team and in the tools that we use. So I'm going to show you how we do that. But on the lowest, on the first line, as you see, we have put the data competitions. The reason we do that is that we build this profile, these portfolios from a candidate working on a data competitions. Why do we do that? Because we believe that the data that comes out of these data competitions is the most thoughtful and well done and through and prepared data. And that's the key. That's the key that we have it here. If you work with a data set that is just given to you as an assignment or some tutorial and project that is not properly prepared, you can never really stay on it more than like 4 or 5 days. After 2 weeks, you don't know. If you're not getting results, you can always doubt the data. So we're taking that doubt, which is crucial, out of from this equation, and we start with this platform where they have a tested data set, and the community that has been running on it are actually the people who are testing it. So yeah, a bunch of people were waiting. I just submitted that. All right. So that's what we have there. On the first floor, we have the data competition platforms, and we leverage these data competition platforms to build these profiles. Now, what do we mean by these profiles? So on top, you can see that. The GitHub is the primary tool that we use. We linked it with your LinkedIn, Angel List, and a few other accounts, depending on what level you are. If you're associate, if you're a senior level, maybe you want to be on Angel List. Maybe if you're interested in the startup ecosystem or have more experience as a senior or lead director level. But if you're not, and most of our mentees are not, and you're just starting, then you'll be working on with a LinkedIn, and we connect those profiles that are developed on the GitHub on a LinkedIn. At the same time, you have a link to the Kaggle, which we find it a lot more valuable than any project or tutorial that you submit or any certificate. As we saw in the first slide, most people do have those certifications from Python. And in fact, one of the key things we keep talking about is that do not go after certifications for any program like Python for 2 reasons. One, if you want to be more hireable, and the other reason, well, right now we're talking in the context of being hireable. And the reason is that if when everybody goes after these certification, then the measure just loses its value. And you can already see that. So that, by the way, is one part of the equation. The other half, the 50% of the chunk that we work our mentees and our candidates with, is actually landing a job. So during these 100 days of building a portfolio and working on these technology stack, we do not charge a candidate. It's completely free. So every mentor works with about 4 to 9 mentees. And usually we have about every mentee during these 100 days works with at least like 2-3 experts. the experts are, I'm going to go over that in the slides for the experts slide, but we want to connect you with the expert that has actually experience in that data competition. That's the reason why. And most of the projects and the work that you do is often done within a team of at least 2 people. So that's why one mentor usually manages and mentors at least about 4 mentees. So during this 100 days that this mentorship is happening, and this profile portfolio is being developed, we don't charge the candidate. We don't charge them weekly, monthly. We don't charge them anything. Instead, the mentor makes an offer and charges the mentee a fixed flat fee of 5% of the total annual income divided by 12 months. That is only due if the mentee lands a job. Now, that's an if. That's a big if that we care about, because we're making this investment, we're putting this time, and we have different performance forms to make sure that both our mentor and our mentees are on track. How do we do that? On behalf of on our side, we want to make sure that our candidate is putting energy. So there's no point in giving them the free contents and the free mentorship if there's no pull from the candidate. So the way we do it is by asking the candidate to submit at least 2 job applications per week when they start these 100 days of competition, what we call them. Also, we call them Module 1. The other thing, the other thing is from the candidate's point of view, we want to also make sure that our mentor is doing a great job. So we want to make sure that and that's how, the way we do it is by looking at the GitHub account and the Kaggle leaderboard or other leaderboards. So these are all information that we can easily verify, and we want to make sure that our candidate is going up in the leaderboard, or at least they submit and improve their work on the Kaggle competition, whether you can measure it by submitting the model or the improvement of the model. But let's say something fails during this process. For example, let's say that our mentee is not responsive, or they're not going up. They're not submitting much job applications. Then we have a group of elite mentors that we sit and we look at the profiles. We have seen in the past that some mentees have got a job offer, but the job offer has been revoked. We want to make sure that we are on top of the reason that why it is happening. And usually it's very simple. So usually it is something like that. The mentee is not following through with the instruction provided, or changed profiles, or just completely is doing something different after 30 days or 3 weeks. So that's where we get more involved, and we want to make sure that the most important thing is in place, which is a cohesion between the profiles, like for example, the resume, the cover letters, the LinkedIn account, and so forth. All right, so I'm going to go back into that in more details after I went over the other slides. There was more questions. Okay, so for candidates, our platform and our service starts in 2 ways. So one is they can start with a free trial, and what that means is that they jump into the they submit the application form, which most people who come to these sessions, they already have submitted that application form. This form basically gives us a very high-level idea of where they are with their job search and the access of their accounts, like the link to their accounts, and create an account on our platform. Then we connect them to, we assign them a competition for about 2 weeks, and during these 2 weeks, we work with them to submit jobs onto the leaderboard, see their code, where they are, basically a very simple technical due diligence type of work that we do takes place there. and gives us a very good idea of what will be the next following steps. So when you start with a free trial, you can expect that right off the bat you will be working with a mentor that will be working with you on a temporary basis. Okay, so this is not your final mentor. This is just somebody who is going to work with you to make sure that you pick your data competition, you submit some results on the data competition, and you have accounts in place like your GitHub account to showcase your technology stack that you're using and the progress that you're making and so forth. And this is what happens during that time. You also get an idea of how we use some of our solutions, like how our workflow works. Or we pick a very simple technology stack to work during these 10 days. For example, if you're somewhere intermediate at Python, so that we work with some libraries like pandas or some scikit-learn and machine learning, some tools like that, and a very simple data competition to building a very simple base model. And I will go one example. I think we have a decision tree example in the demo for today. And you just start doing that, review the content, some talk. So you learn a machine learning topic. This is assuming that you're in the data science track. And that's what happens during these 2 weeks. So the other option that any candidate can do is to just right off the bat start with module 0. So I'm going to go and let's see. Okay, so I'm going to go and show you how our 5 tracks, going back to the slides of how we solve the problem, we try to break down the data science job roles into 5 groups. And these 5 groups are divided in 2 ways. So one is the position that are data analyst, data engineer, and data scientist. These are 80%. Well, let me go over the whole full list. A machine learning engineer and machine learning research and development. So these 2 positions in the bottom, machine learning engineer and machine learning R&D, they are, if you have 3 years of working experience, so these are for talents who are either with PhDs, postdocs, or at least 2-3 years of software engineering background, and they want to switch to data science role, in particular with machine learning, and a sort of leadership roles. So an example of roles that you can get if you've been working for 3 years of software engineering in Java or Python as a developer would be working as a lead or working as a senior machine learning engineer. If you have, let's say, a postdoc in it or 2, 4, 5 years of quantitative research experience, then that would be like an R&D position, machine learning R&D. The other title is a data science analyst, which is also like the business intelligence, where you work more closely with the business side, the data side, and the decision making. So a lot of the time of this role will go into communication with different divisions, different part of the team as a trailblazer, as a technology translator. The data engineer is a role that people with few years of 1 year of software engineering background will pick and do. So this is where you are either using some of the existing APIs, off-the-shelf APIs, and you're implementing that into some pipelines that the team is building, or it could be more hands-on, even on the cloud solution side, and then designing an architect that you can create data lakes or other repositories for live data visualization and so forth. So it's definitely more, you will require more hands-on experience, and it's usually 10-15% more higher in salary. And then data scientist part is one of the most famous titles, and most people confuse data scientist role with data science jobs. And data scientist role is where you're just purely like involved with reporting or modeling type of work. Now the modeling work is very big, but the reporting is very common if you're doing any experimental or statistical type of analysis and type of roles. Now, data analyst, business intelligence, and data engineer and machine learning engineer is about 80% of the job market. The data scientist and the R&D role is about 20% in the job market. And you can easily, like, it's more common in bigger established teams with years of development in R&D. But they are usually, as I said, they are usually in a higher bracket of pay. So when the talent comes, starts working with us, one of the key things we want to identify with the person is just which one of these groups is going to be right things for them to do. One of the biggest mistakes that people do is just they one day they start applying to data analyst job, and the second week they start to like consider data engineer roles, and in the next month they're applying to some data scientist job. And it confuses the recruiters, and it definitely would never be a good, they would never get any feedback, any good results from that type of work. And that's one example of a clarity that would give to a mentee and a talent to identify a career path for them. But so that you can, for example, start with a job as an analyst or business intelligence role, and then in 1 year or 2 years, you would start like doing other things like in data engineer, and then later switch to machine learning engineer, and then or even you switch to another management role. And so these are part of the work that we do. And I'm going to go over a few samples here. So I was giving an example that when you started training the free trial period, we picked one machine learning topic for you to work. This is, for example, a list of the topics for a decision tree. The idea is for us to break down the contents into as many small key topics so that you can just pick and start understanding that as you need it to be. So not everybody needs to fully grasp how random forest works. But if they're using decision trees and it is overfitting, then he needs to know what is overfitting, what is decision trees, how do decision trees often cause overfitting, and that's how we develop these contents. So every content, the topic has a link to a YouTube or a PDF file that we host on our website or our YouTube channel. And as a mentee would go over these topics and they finish it, they sign it as complete, and then the mentor will get an update the next day, and he can confirm that, okay, my mentee finished these topics. I can now assign him these tasks because, for example, he didn't know how to do anything on GitHub because he didn't know Git, because he didn't know anything on Bash. All right, so I'm going to just assign a very simple path. He's going to understand how these three things connect, and he will be like, without really being confused, be active on GitHub and really be appreciative of what he's doing and really putting the energy and things that I think it matters. So a mentor has certain level of freedom in how he is going to get a mentee to where he's supposed to be. But at the same time, we go through a module 0 where we standardize every candidate that comes and work with us. So this is what I mentioned earlier on one of the slides. Module 0 is a period of 6 to 11 days. We work on Kaggle account, GitHub account, and resume and other accounts. And we do a bunch of tasks on a daily basis. For example, one of the key things that changes that is really helpful to a lot of talents who come from academia is the screening interviews. And although they usually don't even go through that much of a screening call, they do, however, get caught during the technical screening call. And we go and over these daily sessions, we have a method that we call 5-a-step. And our goal here is to make the job of a technical recruiter or a recruiter easier. And we do that by making sure that everything makes sense and it's like the least amount of confusion in place. Um, all right, so like as I was mentioning, when you start a free trial or later when you continue working, there is a technology map that the Kaggle experts and the mentors decide for you, right? So again, we have a base system in place depending on your track, which we call a portfolio. We have 5 major portfolio, each one for one track. But the mentor can decide the strategy. For example, you need to land a job right away. It could be different. It could be shorter, not too deep, and pick the items and technologies that are based on your top 3 skills is what one of the key things we look at. So what is your top 3 skills? Let's say Java, Python, and some other sort of technology. And here, for example, with Python, he can pick these tools that you need to have and you're missing, and in order to get that the raise you need or to be more competitive and land the job that you require in the market that you're interested in based on the profiles and so forth that we have. So this is how things works out. Like as I said, they're very lightweight. The idea here, as I have to actually get back to the slides. I don't have much time. The idea here is for us to create a portfolio. Remember that we are here to create a portfolio. The candidate is the person who's going to be doing that, but at the same time, we want to have as much exposure and as much people can be able to review it and be able to evaluate it as easy as possible. I started a few minutes late, I think, so I give myself a few more minutes after the 2:30. All right, so for companies, we host data competitions. So it's free for the companies to host their data with us and then design a data competition. It will be available to all the candidates, to all people who come and register to our events. The competition is designed so that either there is a monetary prize to it, or the company is actually hiring a consultant, a freelancer, or even a full-time or part-time role. So that we basically help them to skip the stage of working, doing technical reviews, technical interviews. So the top 3 models, which will be announced during the competition, would go directly to the second round technical, or just they present their model to the team, and that will be their screening technical interview. Or it will be a company that is putting monetary prize, and we basically help them to host these, design a competition from their data on one of the key platforms. So we make sure that the policies, they understand the policies that needs to be in place for the data, how these data should be anonymized, what are the rights, what are the things that they give, and what are the things that they give up to the competition platform. And we do all that work for companies. Let me go to the next one where I will answer more questions if you have on that topic. All right, so some of the people who are joining us today are applicants either for experts. So the experts, we have terminology I want to be clear about. So experts are people who have a public recognition on data competition platforms. So for example, Kaggle or other platforms, usually it's the same people, and they're active on these competition platforms. So a good example are Kaggle experts, masters, and so forth. So they sort of work with a mentee, a candidate works with few experts, as I was explaining earlier. Mentors we have different levels of mentors, by the way. So some of the mentors are working full-time already at the assigned jobs. Some are working part-time. So we have different kind of commitment for them. If you're working part-time, you can be working on interview, resume prep. So that could be a mock technical interview that you can work. That could be just working on a screening call, working on with us on the webinars, the weekly webinars, the services we have. But for the full-time software engineers, especially a lot of them coming back from just pure software engineers, like they have a strong background in Python, Java, or cloud solutions, virtualization solutions, so forth. They are the one that do a lot of the work that I was going over earlier, designing that path, the technology stack path that you can create that portfolio that is that makes sense, that you can grow, and it's a right path, right way to start building it. The industry reps are the people who are in charge of helping us to help design and launch the data competitions from the companies, and help translate topics that might kind of sound like a foreign language to a lot of the executive decision makers at these companies. We have a lot of good things that goes for them. Like we're completely free. We don't charge the companies to do that. We basically provide another new way of a recruitment, technical checkup, if you may say, for the talents that they want to hire. Okay, so that was primarily what I wanted to talk about. I have a few other slides and other things to show. Let me see. So I went briefly over the events we had. A lot of the contents we have on the events are free. You can look at it. We have it on our GitHub account. We have over 20 events in the past. And some of the videos is uploaded too. There's a lot of good contents there. I strongly recommend you join and check them out. We have a good list of about 34, 40 questions answered on an FAQ page. I did mention the module 0 very briefly. You can sign up, make the payment, and start working and joining us today. And we talked about the job roles, and there's a link in the invite about the job roles that we have. We have remote Kaggle expert, that's your partner reps, the interview resume reps. And some of the competition platforms like Driven Data, the most famous one is Kaggle. So I wanted to show. All right, so I'm going to figure out the best way that I can answer questions for the next 15 minutes. So I apologize, I went about 5 minutes over my allocated time. So let's see how I can answer the question. I believe that we should be able to, I should get text messages from people here. I also have, I have my Slack channel open. So anybody who attended the sessions before is already on Slack. You can ask questions there. Or you can raise hand here and I can get to you. So all right, I'm here to answer any questions you might have. Let me know if you don't know how to ask your questions. So Hadoop and the Spark, so Hadoop is one of the batch solutions that is not as in common, depends on the solution that or the industry and the sector that you want to work on. But some of the key terminology you need to know. So there are two different things. Yeah. So there's two different things. So I'm going to keep this two separate, Spark and Hadoop. One is actually understanding how the Hadoop ecosystem works. So every mentee will get that. Will know that, depending on what track they'll work on. So for example, data engineers would need to know that. The other thing is having hands-on experience, for example, on AWS, EMR, Elastic Map Reproduce, how you can spin off a Hadoop We assign you a project and few sandboxes that you can do that and actually see how the HT5, how the queries works. What is some examples of technology stack that has been used by other startups or companies? How do they look like? How they're being used actually? So that is what we're gonna work on. But if your industry is actually very intense on Hadoop and you need to know that, then we can dig deeper. So the short answer is yes. This is Hadoop and ecosystem is one of the key topics in our technology stack. Spark is another one. So, like there are different ways to work with Spark. If the mentee comes with a very strong background in R, then we assign. I could talk to you about that because I have backgrounds in that. But if you come with a background that is slightly different and you want to leverage Spark with Scala or other Java libraries, then we'll connect you with another mentor who has that background. So remember, we look at the top 3 skills that you have, and we want to capitalize on that. It's a very simple way of looking at it. And this is how it's just 100 days. So you want to build this portfolio. We want to design this technology stack that gets you land a job within the time frame. Now, after that, you can do anything you want. You're going to be working with us. When you start your job, and we actually want you to stay with us even more because hopefully we could have you come work with us after a couple of months, 6 months as a mentor even. So yes, the answer is yes, definitely is a part of what we do on the technology stack of what we review, develop, and code review. I didn't even talk about the code review. There are a lot of valuable skills that goes into working with an experienced mentor on code review. And that's another key things, working with good practices, architect design, and so forth. Right, trying to see if we can. Right. All right. Is there any other questions? Anything else that you would like to? All right. We got. I'm confident with my current coding skills to start submitting on Kaggle competition. Although I have started working a little bit. So the coding skills have different levels. All right. The first thing you can do on a Kaggle competition is to submit a base model. If you're looking at it from a perspective of a competition and going over the leaderboard, all right. So that by itself takes a while. And then when you create your base model, the cycle that we have is that you create a code script, you upload it on your GitHub as a version, you add your mentor to that GitHub, you start using the different solution that is now on GitHub, like for project management, there's solution project management, for ticket management. There are a lot of things that you can is your second, third, fourth step. And as you're doing this, that's where the confidence come in. It's not about you sitting here and telling yourself that you're good at it. It's really just about doing. And what we do is that we make this super easy and just available to you. All right. If you're struggling with any of these steps, we want to reach out and see why you're not developing and going to the next stage, right? But as you upload your GitHub, you work with another candidate, another mentee on your Git skills. you're developing, you're growing in those skills, and those are very valuable skills. It takes longer time, and then there are a lot of things that are being developed at the same time for every candidate. All right, and the best way to address it is actually just by being public about it. So you have Slack channels, all right, and every mentee is a member of the Slack channels. We have events. Every candidate is invited to all our events. They usually get like 30 people outside the group that are not mentees and candidates. So you can just share that. Hey, I built this model. I'm doing this work and been doing this, and that's how we really we really want our candidate to evolve. We're just giving them opportunities to try faster and develop more skills by just doing it quicker and such. So that's the confident, but that's the tech. But I want to just add this here. The technical insecurity is a big deal. It's not about anybody coding for 10 years. You always have that. There's always like things that is not your field, and you're technically insecure that they might just cut into your corner and leave you with nothing and get your breakfast. Okay, that is something that you can only just keep working on and keep doing it. And another thing is just doing it in public and with groups and not alone. So another question is the condition of 5% charge on annual income same for candidates outside of the States? Or we don't have ESA for people outside the States, just because we don't know how to do that, how to enforce that legal aspects of ESA, income share agreement, for candidates outside the States. What we do is that we charge on a weekly basis upfront. So if you're outside the States, and what I recommend you do is to do the module 0. And after finishing module 0, start with a 10-day trial. And after that 10-day trial, if you see if you're convinced to work with us, that's why you want to be with us, then please send us an email and we send you the paperwork and everything else. We charge you up front. It's we get that estimate on a fixed salary of, I think, $50,000. So just email us and I get you back with the details. All right, I believe there's, all right, let me see. All right, so it's a very common question. I believe there's a lot that I need to know, all right, and including working with kernels and so forth. Yes, that is true. It's like a lot of different technologies, and that's what it is, very valuable. And you have to realize, like, a lot of these technologies that you use, and these are, this is what is about specialization, right? It's about tool making. There are a lot of tools, and each one of these tools are specialized in 1 or 2 specific fields, all right? And they're free. And remember, you're not paying to use these things as a developer. So if you look at it as a whole package, and then you start to appreciate it, and you start to appreciate yourself, because you are the value here. You as a talent become more valuable. And otherwise, if you see a tool that it is very expensive, like, for example, MATLAB, MathWorks, or tools that are very common in some, like, simulation packages, and they're like hundreds of thousands, or some SAP tools that you have to pay $70,000 a year to get. Sure, they're very easy, but then they don't need you. They don't need an engineer, a developer, a technical engineer. They can hire anybody and train him as cheap as possible and get him to work. So see the whole thing, see the whole package, and that's where you can find a deal, all right? And so that's how you want to look at it, and that's how you can see it as an opportunity for yourself in your career, the long term. So it would require how much, okay, so another question is, so it would require how much hours per day approximately to be able to gain max value for this program? We expect at least 1 hour. Most mentees that work with me, I can give you an example from myself. do about 2 hours. So not that much, but 2 hours. But I tell you that when you go beyond 2 hours, that's where you really see results. That's where you really get job um, job offers. Okay, um, there's a push that you got to go through, and that's where you get. You never get just one job offer. You usually get my candidates, my mentees who get a job offer, usually get 2, 3 other job offers within 2 weeks, 3 weeks, 4 weeks. It's not just one job offer. So, and they go beyond 2 hours a day, 3 hours. Usually the average is 3, 4 hours, and they can do it for like through 2, 3 weeks. But our program, we are, like I say, we're lightweight, but we want to go with minimal overhead. You're putting your hours. You're not putting time to understand people talking to you. A lot of stuff is just results. So you work with GitHub, Kaggle, notes, going back and forth. So it's pretty much the work that is done into your portfolio, really. When you put that 1 hour, it's putting time in your portfolio. We're not filling out forms for ourselves with your time. You're putting in time to build your portfolio. We're saving you time, if anything. At least we want to double the time you put in. But most people who get job offers, they go beyond 3, 4 hours for a period of time, like 2, 3 weeks. They go like that. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so module 1, module 0, you can just log into the website. Well, you don't need to log in. You just go to the account page, you make the payment. It asks you to sign up, accept the terms, and that's module 0. We work with PayPal, we work with all the cards. So, I mean, I think for internationals, like we have people like just using PayPal. That's what I know, what I remember. And then after that, you just start with the 10-day trial. That would automatically start you with 10-day trial. Okay, so if there's no other questions, I'm going to end it here. Thank you very much for joining us here today. All the candidates, all the job applicants and mentors, experts here. We look forward to hearing back from you, and you will hear back from us. And have a great weekend ahead. Thank you so much. Bye-bye.